Ciao a tutti e benvenuti a questa nuova puntata di In Residenza a casa di, la rubrica di Voci di Cittadella in cui incontriamo, inizialmente abbiamo incontrato gli artisti che sono stati in residenza in cittadella e poi siamo partiti per un viaggio insomma, alla scoperta di altre esperienze di residenza in Italia e all'estero. Quest'oggi andiamo a incontrare Elena Carmona, che è la coordinatrice artistica del Centro Culturale di Creazione per la danza e le arti performative Graner. Hi Elena, how are you?
Buongiorno. Fine, fine.
Buongiorno. Where are you now?
I'm at home because we have been working in this way since the lockdown started here in Spain, and that was at the middle of March. Yesterday was my first day going and coming. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Very exciting. And but yes, I'm at home at this moment and dreaming with coming back every day to the place where we can share the space with the artists. That is something that I've been missing in the last weeks a lot.
So Graner is a center for a creation center, and it is in the city of Barcelona. Can you tell us a little bit about the activity that as Graner you do during the year?
Graner is a public project, like let's say, because it belongs to a network of factories of creation from the city of Barcelona. And the management of the place of Graner specifically is in charge of Mercat de las Flors, which is a public theater which is focused on dance.
A beautiful theater, I would say also.
Yes, it is. So because of this relation, Graner is focused on contemporary dance, but also like fast, with what we say or we understand is most closer to performance or more hybrid languages. And the place was opened in 2011. It's an old factory. It was the factory from the Philips, so the lamps that were built were in the factory like many time ago. And it was a place, this factory, that the community, the professional community, was demanding to the city, to the town, to the city of Barcelona. So we started the project in 2011, and we put the experimentation and the research and the creation in the center of the project. And from this, we understand that our role of the team is to accompany those creation process or those research processes. And we try to accompany and to articulate those experimentation processes and research in relation to different communities, which means that professional community, which are all the artists that we host in residency, that are around 50 residencies, because we are really into creation. This is the main focus or the main
50 residencies every year.
Every year, yeah, 50 residencies. And then we relate also the project with the city and also the neighborhood where Graner is located. And then we relate to the educational community. So with those three communities, we try to relate from the research and the experimentation in the center, in the core of the project. And as I said, we host around 50 residencies. We do an open call per year, and through this open call, we receive around 10 residencies. And then the rest of residencies are kind of agreements that we do with other partners. Some of them with partners as Mercat de las Flors, which is our more closer partner, but also international relations. We have also those collaborations with other festivals from the region, festivals from Spain. And with this way of working, we try also to open our view or open our artistic line. So it's not just the desire or the decision of the artistic coordinator and the team, but it's also an artistic view that we share with different partners. And we really trust and believe in collaboration, because we are a center of creation. So if we work with a festival and we support the same artists, then the artists can also get maybe a better circulation for the work, more visibility. So we think that we have to work with other partners and always in collaboration.
Yes, because clearly the production process is very closely connected to the circulation, to the diffusion of the product that the artists create. So it's when there is a close connection between the institutions and the organizations that provide towards the production and to the diffusion, then for the artists that's a big step. In the sense that it is a closed circuit. It is a actually I don't think it's the right word. It is a circuit in which it's a virtuous circle in which the production can have a course of life better organized and better highlighted and so that you give value to the project. But as you said, it is a project that it was born in 2011. How did you get to Graner? What is your background as a person, in this field?
My degree is in journalism, so it's nothing to do with dance or with art or with creation. But then I studied different postgraduates in cultural management, and then my first step into dance was in a cultural center which was focused on dance. That was a cultural center here in Barcelona, very close to the beach, which is called Barceloneta. And it's a center that receives a lot of artists, but also like amateurs that are creating processes that are also in creation. But also it's a center that offers a lot of workshops for the neighbors. It's a center which offers also a programming. And I was working there for 3 years. It was my first experience with dance. That was, I think, like 15 years ago or even more. And I think that was a really training for what I'm doing now, because it was a place where I could really imagine a program, what I could really risk, and because it hasn't a lot of visibility, so it's a kind of place where you can really experiment and where you can really try and risk. Then I was there for 3 years, and I changed and I moved to Mercat de las Flors, to the theater, where I was working in production. So it was my first step into a big institution, let's say. And then from Mercat de las Flors, I started in Graner, like at the beginning of the project. That was in 2011. So I was I'm part of the original team. First, I was coordinating different projects, and then since last year that I'm the artistic coordinator
of Graner.
Yes.
As a cultural center and a production center that is located in a large city such as Barcelona, how is you said a little bit before about the relationship with the city and with the neighborhood where Graner is located, but how do you program the activities that of, let's say, outforming or exformation towards so the relationship that is built between the artists and the citizens or the audience or whatever we want to call them, anyway, the people who live outside this.
Yeah, this connection between the art, the residency, and the center of creation, and the outside, something that we have been very concerned since the beginning of the project, as most of the things that happen in Graner happen inside of the studio. So we have to put a lot of attention on communication and also on the relationships that we want to establish with the outside. That means the citizens, that means also the neighborhood, in terms of put this which is inside and to open it to the society, you know. And this is something that we have been really aware of it. In this sense, like we create a festival which is called Salmon Festival. That has been very linked to Graner and organized by Graner in the until the 7th edition. For us, it was like the place of the platform for visibility, the big celebration of performing arts in the city. And that was the way where we could get closer to the audience and create also, or help to create an audience for experimental languages and for experimental works in the city, something that even in a city as Barcelona, in terms of performing arts, there's not really usual, as there were like few experimental festivals in terms of performing arts. So for us, that was our platform for visibility for artists and also for international guests to put in contact our artists with the society. That is very specific and that defines the project of the festival. I think that is that we are not just focused on performances, which means the finished work or the product. Is that also the festival hosts an extended, or we say expanded program that for us has the same importance that the let's say the scenic program. It's not the kind of parallel activities or something that happens in a second turn. It's part of the main activities. And with this, we look for different ways of approaching the work of the artist to the society. That is not always on a stage, but could be to a work in progress. So also approach which is normally invisible for the audience. Through conversations, through workshops, through different devices to get different ways of the audience to approach to the artist. So the festival is one of the ways that we get this contact with the society. And then, of course, the neighborhood where Graner is, which is called, is a neighborhood which is called El Barrio de la Marina. And this neighborhood is, as we are not really in the center of Barcelona, we are a little bit out, which here means like 25 minutes by bike from the city center. So Barcelona is not a super big city. But with the neighborhood, which is kind of medium class or worker class neighborhood, it's a big challenge to approach experimental works to the neighborhood.
Yes.
So with the neighborhood, we try to be like really in conversation with different people, with different associations that are part of the neighborhood, to try to understand what are the needs of the neighborhood and how we can help, or how through arts we can also work with the neighborhood to try to provide responses to those needs that the neighborhood has. So our idea is not to arrive and to impose anything that we want to do, or not the idea of this of the artist as something that who has all the answers, because the artist doesn't have. But our idea is to working with arts and working in interdisciplinary groups and with the neighborhoods, we can build something together, and we can recognize the others as someone who is occupying and living in the same territory and sharing the same needs and the same circumstances. So in this sense, we try to build ecological projects that work in a long-term relationship with the neighborhood, and through mapping the needs, we try to create a project that try to dialogue with this. So this is how we work with the territory.
Yes, I think you had, there are a few keywords in what you said before regarding the work with the community, which in some ways in our small community, which is a lot smaller than that of Barcelona, we are trying to replicate which is the fact that the artist, that the creation process is something that is supported and needs a support for the artist, but in turn the artist can create another series of relationship with the community, which also form and create value and form a relationship and another experience of what is the process of artistic creation, which is we believe, and from what you say, I think you also believe it's not something that is just for cultural operators or just for artists. Also, the creation process can be experienced by non-artists or people who are not in the field of art in very different ways, and that is what also we're trying to do in the what we call the open spaces, which is a moment of sharing of the creation process between the artist and the audience, which is not pre-programmed, is not standard for anyone, but it's really depends a lot on every individual project. So every project has its own way of impacting into the community. So that's what we find really interesting about non-finished works. It's the creation process itself.
And also to understand that those kind of projects need more time, because you have to establish relationships, and then you need to maintain those relationships. So you have to be very aware, because when you open a door, then you need to have the structure, the time to maintain and to sustain this time, and try not to instrumentalize the others. No? So sometimes for us, those kind of projects takes 2 years, because you need maybe 1 year just to understand how the context is. And in this sense, of course, Graner and the team has an important role, because we are really all the time there in the dialogue with the neighborhoods. And then we try to mediate between the artists and the neighborhood. But then, of course, the artist has to, by meeting people, by having a lot of conversations, dialogues to understand what could be the topic of the research, or what could be the need that he or she or the artist has the tools to work with. No? So it really needs time, and it's also a process of experimentation, I think, because you are always departing from questions, and then you think you need time, because normally the answer you cannot give just alone the answer, that you really need to build something that you share with the community.
So you provide the frame, the setting in which this exchange can happen. Is your organization, is Graner a public space or a private space, or is it publicly funded? What is the
public? It's public, and this is something that we are always trying to hack the bureaucracy that being a public space means, and trying to work very close to the society and very close to the artist, because it's not always easy, in the sense that the public institution has a lot of bureaucracy that is very invisible in a first step, but then to move something from here to here, you need to do like a super big circle, and this is a constant battle that we have. But we are really trying to practice a new institucionalismo, the nueva institucionalidad en castellano, which means to think in a different way how the governance could be in a center of creation, which has a public vision or a public mission. And in this sense, we are trying to do it through the figure of the associated artist, the associated artist for us is an artist that is going to be closer at a minimum of 2 years. So it's a relationship that we open with an artist through an open call. And we establish a relation that goes for 2 years. And as part of this relationship, of course, we support the creation of the artist or the production, and we take care of it, and we accompany that process. But for us, it's a deeper conversation, which means that the artist can also to be very propositive with the artistic program of Graner, concerning of so sharing the needs, we can build together the project. And also through this figure, we try to put the associated artists closer to the community that we are related to, which means the educational community, but also the neighborhoods. So the profile of artists that we try to look for this role are artists that are worried not just by their creations, but they have an extended practice, let's say.
Yeah.
And they have the ability of dialogue with the community in different ways. And this is something that we try to build, and also trying to build a very horizontal relationship with the artist, and very accessible, to be very accessible, the whole team. And it's something that also during the lockdown, like we are really concerned about the importance of having a very close dialogue to the artist, because it's the only way that a public institution has to understand and to be close to the needs of the artist, in this sense, that is the closer community that we relate to.
Yeah, you said there are many questions I would like to ask regarding what you just said. You just talked about the dialogue that is necessary between the organization, the artist, and the institution, so that the institution can get into the process and understand what is about and what are the effects. How did it go over the years? I mean, your structure is as 9 years of activity. How did you see this relationship progress over the years?
Yeah, it has changed a lot since the beginning, because when we started the project, that was when the crisis, almost in the period of crisis, it was really hard times here in the whole Spain. And at that moment, there was a lot of so the artists really didn't trust in Graner, because it was a public institution. It was something that they were not demanding at that moment. So they wanted a center for creation, but maybe not running by a public institution. So at the beginning, it was a little bit like, let's say, desconfianza in Spanish. But then I think that because of the team, and also because of the architecture of the space, which is very particular, in the sense that Graner, we understand Graner as a house, in the sense that it has a kitchen, it has bedrooms, so the artist can live in the space.
Which is very important for a residency space to have.
Absolutely. And because we share a lot of informal spaces, I think that also the relation between the people of the team, the people who run the space, and then the artist gets very closer. Like there are not walls, like everything, all the walls in Graner are crystal walls. So that means that we are accessible all the time with the door open. And that also changes a lot the kind of relationship that we can build with the artist. And then also what's important is that the artist spends a lot of time, because when the artist enters in the space, we give them the keys. That was a challenge also for a public institution, which at the beginning was like, but this is not possible. So, like the technical material can be stolen. So there was a lot of questions at the beginning, but in all this time that we have been working by trusting in the others, we have like good results. So now,
so it's paid off.
Yeah,
This trust paid off.
So at this moment, I think that there is a trust on the project. So and to try to build this kind of relations by co-responsibility. That is one of the basics of Graner. I think that is something that shift the relation between the organization, that it's supposed to be like hierarchical with the the coordinator at the top, and then you relate with the others. In our case, we are a very small team. We also work very horizontal, in a very horizontal way, and we try to keep the same structure, the same way of working with the artists.
Mm-mm. And in turn, how did you see progress the relationship with the community around the neighborhood and the community in general? Because your space is in a city, so I suppose, are there people coming from other neighborhoods, or is it more local?
We are like, as I say, we are really focused on creation with the art. So we, as I say, we give the keys to the artists, and they explain like the time that they need. So
Yeah.
they don't share a studio. So that means that we have maybe 3 companies for 1 week. So there's the same people. We don't used to do workshops. So we are very focused on creation.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, the more visible activities that we have is the festival. That is when not just Graner, but also that we collaborate with other venues. And it's the moment of the year when the citizens and people from all Barcelona come to Graner, but also come to Mercat de las Flors, or those venues that where we collaborate and we dialogue through the festival. But then, we in the last year we use a different strategy, like in not to do that the people come to Graner, but that Graner goes to different places, no? In this sense, as we work with the neighborhood, we work through using or by programming or by creating spaces for public space. So because we live in a neighborhood where people don't go often to the theater, but where we really have been creating this relation with the community through the educational program and through the work with the school that we do since we start in the project. And this is one of the main also line of workings of Graner. In this sense, we are working now in the neighborhood with more than 10 schools, which is really a lot. And from kindergarten to high school. But we think that by putting the artists into the school, the artists can share tools with the teachers, and also develop his research, so the artist research in relation to the art, to the
yeah, because it's both directions. It's not only the artist giving to the person, but it's both ways. I mean, you can mutually exchange experiences. And do you think the perception of your structure, of your organization in the neighborhood has changed over the years? Is it more recognized as what it is, basically? Because it is. I think it's the one of the beautiful aspects about residency centers and of creation centers is that they are in the middle between audience and theaters. So if you have a place in which you can see how what you see in the theater is created, you might also be more interested in eventually going to see a theater performance, even though you're not very used to going to the theater in the first place.
It has changed because at the beginning, I remember there were a lot of neighbors that came to me and asking for the school of dance. So everybody thought that we were a school of dance. Then through participatory projects, like community projects that we have developed through the work in the schools, because if you have your child, no, that goes to the school and then they have come to Graner. We do also intergenerational workshops, so workshops with families and artists, and this is something that in the neighborhood works very well. And now I mean, we are not like the library at this moment. Like everybody knows the library, but people start to know that there is the Center for Creation where artists come, where also international artists come, and it's something that for the neighborhood has a lot of value in sense of having of this very this space like very. That was very specifically with arts. No, this is something that they put a lot of value. Now, where we want also to put more value is in the open open processes. So we are trying to look other ways of sharing the process of the artist with the community, because until now it was not, or we didn't understood that was one of the needs of institution. And now, after this big crisis and that we are suffering, where there is a big distance between spectators, between the audience and the artist, we feel that we need to put more attention into look for the ways of sharing the creation process and trying also to do Graner more accessible to the society. That was not in our agencias, in our before. But this, so we never force or put the artist to open the rehearsals at the end, just if the artist need it. But we feel that at this moment, this becomes an urgency for Graner, in the sense that we need to open the creation process more, to look for the ways to the society to come to Graner. And because we want to try to look for other ways to affect the society, to transcender from the arts. And in this sense, we are looking, or we are trying to do it in a different way, like many other places do, like doing an open rehearsal at the end of the residency. But also we have created a kind of learning community, a research community of public, of audience, who follows the different projects, the different creation process that Graner hosts. So they meet twice per month, and they have their own research also as a community of spectators. It's a group of around 15, 12, 15, 20 people that accompany also the creation processes of the artists that we host during the year. And this is something that is kind of challenge for us to also to try to host this community for the whole year. So someone that you can also start a more established relation, not just some one person that comes from one open rehearsal and then leaves, but someone that you can keep on talking, let's say.
But of course, I mean, it's more time consuming and difficult to maintain, but it's also, I believe it's something that is crucial, especially in this moment, to keep alive, or simulate another a new contact between people, which is during the period of the lockdown has been, many relationships have been cut necessarily. So it's the culture and cultural spaces have a crucial role in this reopening process. Also a reopening of relationships between aggregation between people, so people coming together to see something or to do something, which is what we were missing before. So it's really something really important, I guess.
In this sense, like our main question is how can we do or what can we do to regenerate what has left, no? Like what kind of curatorial practices we can develop to regenerate. So, to step from the sustainability to the regeneration. This is that we are trying to shift this view, like being very concerned about this.
How long have you been closed, and have you reopened already the space? Is this already open for the residencies?
Yeah, we opened 2 weeks ago. We have been working a lot through distance, but the space has been open since has been closed since the middle of March. And as I say, we opened 2 weeks ago for us, and I think it's the first center of creation in Barcelona that has been open. For us, it was very important to open as soon as possible because in Barcelona we have the summer festival during the summer, which is called Grec Festival, is the city festival. And we knew that the city festival was not going to be cancelled. And during this month, most of the residencies that we host are co-productions from the Grec Festival. So most of
yes, because of course many artists who were about to premiere with their works, everything has been suspended and frozen. So there is actually a very big problem with productions, not only productions that were about to premiere, but also for works that are already circulating and have been stopped. So no rehearsals for 3 months. So everything has to start. And in this sense, your centers like yours for the productions are very important in this moment.
Yeah, for us it was very important that if Grec Festival confirmed that the festival was going to happen, something that happened 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, then we need to be open for the artists to work. Otherwise, companies they cannot premiere in conditions. And so that was for us was very important to open. So we had been working very hard on protocols because nobody knew about protocols before this lockdown, and now it seems like all of us we are experts on post-pandemic protocols. But in this sense, we need to be very fast and very to work very hard to have those protocols ready to work as soon as possible. So at this moment, we have for companies working in Graner, all of them are going to premiere in the festival. In fact, the festival, Grec Festival, I think is one of the few festivals that is going to happen in Europe this summer, and I hope that. It's that because this big festival is going to happen, maybe there are other festivals that
will risk as well. Yeah,
because of course it's a risk for. I mean, also for us, it's a risk to open. But all the companies that we work, they are professionals. They are very concerned about the situation. So everybody is really respecting the others and doing what they have to do in terms of those protocols.
Yeah, and especially for dance, it's even more difficult to respect to make sure that all the protocols are respected in the sense that it is an art of contact, of human contact. So for us also, we also organize a festival which will be in October, and we are trying to understand how to respect the protocols for the audience, but also for the artists. And it is a big question about whether it is the right thing to change the choreography so that there is no physical contact, or to propose only works that have less problems with physical contact. So it's a big issue.
Yeah, in this sense, for us, has been key to consider conceptually the companies as a family.
Yeah, which is what is kind of it's not yet a confirmed regulation, but this is what has been suggested for in Italy too.
Yeah, and in this sense also to establish a relation of co-responsibility among all parts, between the artists, between the choreographers, and also the dancers, but also the institution that hosts the creation process or the presentation of the piece. So should be a responsibility among all parts. And in this sense, of course, there's a big responsibility by the dancers also, because when they leave the studio, they sign a contract saying that they are going to respect all the also not just inside, but also outside the space of working. So that's also a big responsibility.
Thank you, Elena, for this very, very interesting conversation. We really love to hear about what happens outside the Aosta Valley and what happens in the big cities. And we're always inspired by different models. So we like to talk with people that have different experiences. As a last question, we've been asking these questions to all the artists and all the cultural operators who were interviewed, especially during the lockdown period. And now the answers to these questions have a big change because we're not in a lockdown anymore, but I'm going to ask it just the same. During the lockdown, there were many things that we couldn't do or that weren't there anymore. We just couldn't experience for a number of reasons. Among these things, now we are in a phase of reopening, so many of these things have come back. Is there one thing you wouldn't want to come back, that you regret it came back?
Yeah, our relation with time and productivity, like we have lived this acceleration in this time, and I think that this is something that we have to, or at least also personally, we have to be aware of how to maintain a very sustainable relation with our lives, with our work, our jobs, and try not to be attacked by the rhythms of the capitalism, but also to try to create our own rhythms, and try to find also time to think concerning the things that we think, because we are always, and cultural operators, we are always very answering from demanding, but not we don't have the time to think what is important. So I think that we need we need to put this time in our agendas to think, to reflect with our teams about what's important, and so try to create projects that are live projects that are in relation and in dialogue with a context, and are very flexible in this sense, and very live, no, in also in this sense. So to try to maintain this this acceleration that we have lived in these times.
Thank you so much, Elena. Well, I hope we will be able to travel freely.
Yeah.
I mean, we already are, in some ways, able to travel not so easily, but freely. So I hope we will see you very soon. Maybe in Aosta, maybe in Barcelona, I don't know. And all the best for your future projects.
Thanks, Elena, for the invitation.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.